Hello.
Hey,
Happy Self-Love Saturday. It is the day,
it
right?
is Self-Love Saturday. I'm
Self-love.
glad. Oh, yeah,
You
I
know what?
need some self-love
Do
today.
you?
hmm
All of it?
I need some self-love.
You need some self-love.
I welcome other love too. So if you're sending things in
You
love,
take it. You like
send
give
me
it to
some
me.
hugs in love. Yes, I'll
Something.
take it all.
Send it
I
over.
will take it all.
Let's
Send
do
it
it.
my way. All right.
We accept it all.
Let's get a
Let's
little
warm up.
music to pep us up real
Yes.
quick.
Let's do
Quick
it.
warm up.
All right. I just realized.
I wasn't ready to finish. What
I'm
you
like, oh
realize?
my
What you
God, the
realize?
lips were not right. I'm like, what?
Oh,
What's going on?
did you
So we
get them
good now.
right? You got them right now?
Yes. Yes. It's all good. All is well. All is well.
Okay. All
Wow.
right. Feeling better. Good. That's good. That's good.
Wow. No, it was fun. The
Whew.
funny thing is it's like it's not even a big thing, but it's me where I'm just like, what happened? Because every time I feel like I look so like I'm not fully awake, but it might just be me. Other people may be like, girl, we didn't see nothing. We saw nothing.
I know. I'm like, what you talking
It's
about?
all you.
But that's how we are, right? We're very critical
Oh
of
God.
ourselves, and yeah,
The
we can beat
self-consciousness.
ourselves up a bit
Mm.
unnecessarily, right? And so that's kind of gonna just lead us right into today's topic, which is
Yes.
self
Perfectly.
sabotage.
Mm-hmm.
Self sabotage. Y'all know the deal.
They're probably cousin,
Woo.
twins, all the self.
All of the self things. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I want to hear that message.
Ah, right. So of course we're heading on over to the Slay Bible. Slay,
Yes,
self-love
yes, yes,
awaits you.
yes.
We're heading on over there. I'm just gonna read a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I love this part, and so I kind of wanted to read the whole thing, but I'm like, that's a lot, Trey. That's a lot. Don't do that.
Just a
But
little.
that's okay. Just we'll do a little bit. So I'm on page 135, 136 in there.
Okay.
Um, Now, to shed a little bit of positivity on the subject, I'm starting to see a bit of a shift by way of a comeback. However, I also feel there's more work for us to do to make the full turnaround, especially with us on this journey of self love, back to authenticity, and unleashing the goddess within. Unification has to be part of it. Otherwise, so many of us get lost in the viciousness of I gotta, or I gotta do it myself, or I'll just do it myself. It don't matter. I'll just do it myself. It becomes a brutal cycle of self abuse that evolves into self sabotage. All of that stuff that we do, all of those things that we plan and we don't pull our sisters in. We've been talking about this the past few days. We talked about it last night on Sip After Dark,
Mm-hmm.
as to how we do that daily, and it is a form of self abuse. Um, and it just evolves. It does evolve into self sabotage. It's a form of self
It
abuse when we
is. It
don't
is.
allow
It
others
is.
to help us.
But sometimes we don't even know because it's
Mhm.
almost like a default in what we used to. And like so many things that we do, so many habits and behaviors, it's a fear.
Yeah.
And it's related to something else somebody did to you, projected onto you, you were conditioned, programmed to do, and then you just hold on to it because
You hold on. Yep.
that's what you know,
hmm
even if it's not even serving you. Sometimes you think
Yeah.
it's the thing, but then that fear of like, what if? What if I do this?
hmm
And then you do it. And I've seen that so many times where you almost there. So, I'm being more, let me be more conscious in terms of giving example, like in our own life, in terms of what we've done, where it's like And we talked about that in terms of our own writing. Sometimes can be that where you just like you're so close, but then it's so exhausting sometimes where you're like,
Yeah.
it's gonna finish and then people are gonna see it. What if and this and then all of a sudden you just slow
Yeah.
down because you're like, if I finish it, they're gonna read it, then they're gonna know, then they're gonna say this, and you're just like, and then before you know
Right.
it,
There's the
you put
fear
it on the
kicks in.
shelf. Just like, or
Oh
it's
my
not right.
gosh.
It's not, it doesn't sound like a professional published whatever, or it doesn't sound like this. And I'm like, if it's you, it's your words. It's you, right? And that's
It's you. Yeah.
but we're comparing. We do that comparison game, and so for me, it was one of those things where it's like I'll share it, and then I'll be like, let me just leave it. Or sometimes
Right.
there are people like who are ready to sort of help do certain things, and it just seemed like it's happening too fast. I think last year I was less afraid. 2 year during the pandemic, I was less afraid. When people be like, let's do this, and then I'm thinking something like 6 months from now, oh, we're just gonna plan this out, and you're like, oh no, 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 this is happening like on Monday, and you're like, what? Like, I was just gonna think about this. Like, why so quickly? And so that's the other thing too. Is sometimes we're so used to struggling and waiting, and we work hard for things that don't even come. And what does appear or that we harvest is nothing, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
to even go back to my own
Mm-hmm.
race analogies with the planting. Sometimes I plant something and I'm like, I'm getting 2 lemons. This is what's happening. Like I did not plant 2 seeds. What is happening, right? But it's
Right.
what it's one of those things where you're like, but you're still getting, but you still there's still value in planting and not be afraid to be like, I'm not gonna get anything. So sometimes we don't do nothing out of fear that nothing is gonna come out of it. Or
Yeah.
sometimes we get something and we shock, we're like, oh my God, I just did a little bit and all this happened. And even that
Right.
freaked us out because imagine if we did a little more. My God, right? And I'm thinking to myself, there are times where I'm like, the sabotage is because I don't want the possibility of the amount of success that may come too
Mm-hmm.
quickly to
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And I'm like, I don't know if I can handle it
Got
or
you.
if I even deserve it, right? Because
Or
again,
if I deserve. Oh my gosh. Right.
and you know how
So
long
it's
we've been
it's
working.
fear. It's the fear of being successful. It's the fear of failing. It's the fear of being judged. Fear is a huge thing when it comes to self sabotage. It's
And
just
the
oh my
last thing I
god.
would say for me is it's gonna be the work that I've been doing. Like I've been in sort of like community work, nonprofit work all the time, and I know there is a certain like my all financial status will change. Like the idea of being prosperous, the idea of being uh, financially healthy,
Yes.
right? And to
Mm-hmm.
tie that with like being healthy and wealthy at the same time, my favorite word, being wealthy, right? The ability to be well and
Yeah.
wealthy at the same time. I feel like that judgment is still like, oh, you a traitor because living well and my livelihood and my gift giving me that ability made me a traitor because now it's like I'm different. I've changed
You're
because
not
I've
one of
moved.
us
I'm
anymore.
not.
You
I'm not.
you're
And
not
I've,
you're not struggling. You're
yep.
not you're
So I'm
not part
not.
of this struggle right here
So my
anymore.
card might be
Mhm.
taken from any whatever, right? And so those are the challenge sometimes where I'm just like, oh my God. And then all that, what if it's all taken away? What if I lose it all, which I've seen in family?
Right.
So after all that, then you're like for me to be worried about what if everything disappeared. But on the other hand, knowing how long that I've been at this, and we talk about this where a lot of things is innate. Like you can't take what's mine. You can't take my gift. You can't do what I do how I do
Exactly.
it. Right?
Exactly.
And so that goes back to again the mindset and the ability to get to know you and being intentional
Mm-hmm.
and getting
Mm-hmm.
know who you are and that knowing and that belief that's yours. That's
Yeah.
yours. Like nobody gave that to you and they can't take that. So even if the stuff
It
is
is,
gone,
but there's that little seed
yeah.
of doubt, that little seed that's something in there, that little voice that of that
Mhm.
little person that we
Well,
probably
it's
need
not
to
little
take out
because
and
it's
beat up.
loud. It is loud.
Right? Yeah, it can be. It can be. And then there's this piece of uh that you brought it up a little bit, is the piece where we think we don't deserve. So I'm gonna tell everybody right now, stop. Whatever.
Like,
Take a
stop
breath.
it.
Take a
Stop it.
breath. Hey Val, take a breath. Exhale. That right there is your reason. That's your deserving right there. You took a breath. You here. You deserve.
That's
So
it.
let's
That's
get
enough.
that part
It's
out.
enough.
Get it out of your
Yes,
head that
you,
you are
you,
undeserving.
you.
It's a hard thing to hear, but in dealing in coaching people and trying to get people to birth their vision, that's one thing that I'm finding is people don't feel like they deserve. I don't deserve to, and so then they begin to self-sabotage even more, even more.
Ooh, it happens. So process that.
Mhm.
And those who are listening, thinking about your own habits, and you don't have to go way back in terms of when you started, but think about those habits that you have, those self-sabotaging habits that you do have, and name them, acknowledge them, right?
Yes,
Because sometimes we
definitely.
do those things and we're like, we kind of brush them aside and we keep doing them. And the way we do one thing in certain areas, we do it everywhere. We do it in our personal life, we do it, if you do have a job, you do it in your business, you do it in so many areas, and all your relationships, by the way, you're gonna do that,
Hmm.
right? In
Hmm.
every aspect. And then ultimately you're doing it to you, because guess what you're doing? You are literally blocking, whether it's like opportunities, people coming your
Yeah.
way to literally make more happen. You're blocking all of it.
Hmm. Yeah, you're right. How are you this morning,
Good morning,
Val?
Val.
Processing, rebuffering,
Process.
rebuffering, rebuffering.
The little circle is going and going and circle.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But
take it
you're
all
right. I
in.
think we do have to go back and just kind of, pull those things up and out, because somewhere we were told that, like, and you, it might not have been those words, but there's something here that says you don't deserve this, you're not smart enough, you're not good enough, like all of those little things. So we got to go back. Let's uproot the
Yes.
bullshit, because it's
Those are the
bullshit,
weeds.
and they're lies. They really are lies.
We have different
They
languages. I have
really are.
weeds. I call them weeds. Let's
You
uproot.
weeds. That's right. Uproot the weeds. That's
Yeah,
we
Oh,
gotta dig
up.
those up and
don't
out.
put weed killer on them, uproot them.
Yes.
Uproot them.
Yes.
Right.
We don't want them to come back. We don't want them to come back. And that's what happens sometimes, where you get a little bit of progress and you're like, oh, this is good. And then something else happened, or somebody else say something, or you see this, you start doing the
And
comparison,
it takes you out your hookup.
go right back,
Right. It takes you out the game. Like, oh.
Hmm.
go right back. And it doesn't take much,
Mhm.
literally,
Yeah.
to go back into
But
it.
you have to be strong in your knowingness that your gift is going to make room for you. Right. You gotta solidify that piece. Um, that to me also is the whole point of going back and rebuilding your foundational truths on self-love, on because once you do that, you are acknowledging your own truths. Right, you have to start operating in your gifts, and if you keep turning around and running from them, you're never going to see the fullness of them or what they could even be. Yeah, self sabotage is woo. It's
Yeah.
something
Yeah,
else. It's something else.
I was remarked by, I called myself cracking jokes in the chat yesterday, and I was like, yeah, and thinking about, oh, okay, well, I would like this. And then, like, I was in the chat, but Tracy was like, yeah, but it sounds like there's a little doubt there that this could happen. And then I
Hmm.
was like, and I felt like it's like somebody caught you getting dressed and you weren't fully dressed. You're like, ooh, kind of caught you like, oh
Right.
my gosh, wait a minute. Oh
You see me?
no.
They saw me.
Well, she saw me. They saw me. And the thing that I had to do was to kind of walk back and go, wait, honestly, do I believe that? And I did some digging.
Yeah.
There's a story in the Bible that talks about giving a man talents. It's the parable of the talents, and he gives
Hmm.
talents to three people, and five talents is given to one dude, and then two is given to the other. But one person hides it in the sand. He doesn't share it. And the master says, hey, you are wicked. Why did you hide it? And for some reason, I heard your voice when I was reading that passage. I was like, "Oh
Mm.
Lord, Tracy is yelling at me
Yeah.
with this, like kind of hiding the talent." And and in that regard, I would know it means gifts. But
Yeah.
why do I feel that I don't deserve something? Where does that come from? And identifying where the thought process came from, and then back up literally to show up. That's what I did yesterday to just make sure, okay, let me check in with myself. And it was a good check-in. It was followed by a 20-minute cry, but it was a good check-in.
Hmm.
So ever so often we need to do that check-in with ourselves, as to see,
Yeah.
is there something that I don't believe about myself? Now there's certain things I believe. I know, I pray, it happens. There's a one little area you're like,
It's always
mm,
that one little thing. Like,
one little
what
thing you're
is
like,
it? What is it?
mm, what is it?
Right? It's,
And
yeah. And you
yeah,
just have to kind of identify, like, what is that thing that's missing that I've been wanting and I have not been getting? And
hmm
so
hmm
yesterday when we had that conversation, Val, it hit home for a lot of people, I'm sure.
mm,
But there's always that something that that disbelief, right? It's like, oh, I want this, right? Like right now, all of us can probably identify with this. I want to be financially free.
yeah,
So when you say those words, just say them. I want to be financially free. The belief behind it has to match the words that are coming out of your mouth. And
yeah,
it's like, do you believe you can be financially free? Do you
hmm
believe you deserve it? Right? And then it's like, okay, well, yes, I do, but there's still that something. And that's that something. You gotta go pick that
and it
weed, pluck it up out.
and it has to do, unfortunately, with what has happened before in the past. Like it's a
Absolutely.
matter
Your
of your
experiences.
experiences, has because I felt more like a person that could leap. If you feel like back when you were younger, you were fearless and you could take a
Yes.
chance and you could move
Hmm.
to a new city that you didn't know anybody or barely knew anyone, where you could go skydiving or get a job, and it was no big deal to get another job. If something happened, you just get another one, or to
Hmm.
make a risk or something. And then when you get older, and those risks are things, it's like I don't know if I want to take that risk, because there's that behavior or that thing that happened before, and you're like, see, when this happened, and then you try to make those connections, and it's like, no, stick to what you say. If I say I can have be financially free, do I believe it? And 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 then start to work on that plan, pathway to that, to further go into that belief, because you could say it, but then the work has to happen. And I found myself
Yes.
working on myself yesterday, like, you got to work through this, like work through those
Hmm. And that's
those
not
that
going to be the
doubt.
only day you do it.
Oh, of course
There's
not.
that's
No,
not
you
going to
keep
be.
doing it.
So you have to continually
Hmm.
work at it
Yeah.
because it took a long time to get that weed dug its way down deep. You got to go down there.
Way down deep, way down deep.
Oh my
Get it out, but
gosh.
be willing to do that work. um
Yeah.
and knowing it's worth it, and also that release is necessary, because sometimes we act like we're not feeling what we're feeling. I can't
Yeah.
remember the affirmation, but it's the idea of acknowledging our feelings, our
Mhm.
moods, and just let it be. Like sometimes we're holding on to, like,
Right.
ooh, I should be strong, all that strong stuff. Just release
I
it.
should have done this. I should have done that.
If
Yeah,
that's what
stop.
comes up, that's what it is. Especially us, where I'm just like, there has to be some aspect of like our own gentleness toward us, the ability of forgiving ourselves because we didn't know any better,
Right.
or we weren't
Ooh,
at a place to
self
even
forgiveness.
acknowledging that, to
Mm-hmm.
even do that work. And that's
Mm-hmm.
not for the faint of heart doing that work. And again, doing
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah.
work by ourselves, not even knowing what exactly is happening. Like there's a lot of things I couldn't even name what the heck was going on. So to even be able to work on it and say, I'm going to do this or do that, do you know what that is? Like naming the thing, right?
Yeah.
So though, and it's a process as you grow. Sometimes we think it's going to be there. And then sometimes you're in the thick of life. Well, I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't have time to be analyzing all this stuff. Like, who has time for that? Right?
Ooh.
But then when you do make time for it now, because some of us are still saying that,
Yeah.
there was a time you didn't.
Yeah.
But now, seriously, if it's something that's really important and you feel like I need to grow, I need to become more, and the idea, because that's going to be hunting you when you're like, I know I can be more. I know I can do more. I know
Mm-hmm.
there's more in me. That stuff is going to,
Right.
that voice is not going to be quiet. Okay. So
Right.
if
No.
you don't deal with that, face it, and allow yourself to become, so you keep suppressing it, suppressing it, suppressing it, what do you
Mm-hmm.
think is going to happen
Mm-hmm.
eventually?
That's gonna
Yeah,
come
yeah.
out.
Val, I love that you brought up, thank you, Marie. But I love that Val brought up, like as when we were younger or as children, how, we were like in this fearless state of mind, like I'm doing such and such and I'm doing such and such. And so it reminded me of a passage that I wrote in the book. And that's what I'm talking about. Like as children, it's just something that we do innately, and like nothing can stop us. I'm all the way up. I don't know why I hit that.
And I was
But
thinking, ain't no
anymore, those
stopping us now.
I know, right? So, but I want to read this piece to you, and because I want us to get back to that space where we believe without a shadow of a doubt, and we just move on that belief, because that's what's needed right now. That's what's needed to shift this whole self sabotage, to get other people's shit out of our crawl. We got all these ideas and all of this mess up here now. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
children, young adults, we didn't have all of that. So let me just read this little piece here. Let's see. Let me make it bigger first of all, so I can see.
So you can
Okay,
read. Mm-hmm.
so I can
There you go,
read.
baby. There you go,
As
baby.
kids, right? As kids, we set our intentions and manifested just as easily. There was no limit to the ideas we came up with. We did not just accept what was handed to us. Anymore, though, the older we get, the harder it gets to live from that space. The older we get, the farther we get away from that place of knowing we can do anything. The older we get, the less we believe in the power of our own intrinsic magic. We let life and others' belief systems about it get in the way of actually living it. Yeah. Feel like we need to erase that board. So, anyway, our duty now. So, this is page, for those of you who want to go back and read it, it's 152 going into page 153. And the story that I shared, I think I've shared this one on here. 1984, there that we were doing the whole lip sync scene. I shared that with y'all before, right? About doing the whole lip sync thing and convincing my mother and my boyfriend that we needed to go to Mr. Pat's to this bar to to perform. I convinced my mother, and now mind you, 1984, so I would have been 14.
Okay.
I was 14, 13,
Okay.
14, somewhere in there.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. I did the
Convinced my
math.
mama to take me to a bar so we can be in a contest. Loved the experience of it. I wasn't old. I knew I wasn't old enough to be in there, but you can't tell me I can't perform. You're not getting ready to tell me that I can't come in here for this part, right? And so that and we just dived in deep and had a ball doing it. And people treated us like we were stars. We was like, what? Apollonia 6.
But that was good
But
that
we
you had
performed
the support
secular.
from your mom, though. That
The support, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes, definitely had that support, right? And my mother was always like, "You want to do what?" Like, okay. So I'm grateful that my mother was that way, because most mamas been like, "Are you out of your damn mind? I'm not taking you to a damn bar. Are you crazy?" But so she allowed me to just kind of be, right. She was the buffer between me and my dad. So I needed that sometimes, because he like, "You got to be home. What? Where you going? You doing what?"
You already decided.
But
I think you would have gone
just having
anyway.
that fearlessness, like, "I'm doing this.
Yeah.
We doing this. Come on,
Mm-hmm.
y'all. We dancing up in here tonight." Or whatever it was. There was no fear there. There was no doubt. There was no hesitancy.
Mm-hmm. And you
We
had
just
support
believe.
in
Can
that.
we
And you
harness
had
that?
support. Yeah, but you had
And
support
yeah,
in that. That's what made that
true. But
experience
even as kids, when we didn't
great.
have support, we did it anyway.
Oh, of
We
course.
did. They still you did it anyway,
Mm-hmm.
with or without support. It was like, you know what? I'm doing that. I don't care what nobody say, because I can. We thought we were grown doing our thing. We still did it. We still did it.
That's what I think. I think you would have found a way to go if she said no.
I probably would have,
You
yes.
would have found a way.
But without her, without an adult, how we wouldn't have been able to get in.
You would have found a way. You would
You
have
would have
found an
found a
adult.
way.
I
You
would
would
have
have
found
Found
asked.
an
another
adult.
adult, I'm
You would have
sure,
found
right?
another adult. There would have been
Exactly,
another adult.
because that was the
Mhm.
mindset. Oh, I'm gonna find a way to
You
do this part
decided.
right
You
here.
already decided you
Can
were
we
going.
use that same juice and be like, oh, I'm gonna find a way to be
Uh, Tr-
financially free? I'm gonna find a
Tracy,
way.
Tracy, I
Yes.
applaud you. And there is a lot of people that loves that tenacity. Keep in mind, you were a cheerleader. Hello, that's what you did in
Mhm.
high school. That's an
Right,
innate
right.
superpower that you have, and you still are operating in that. But for folks kind of like myself and others that grew up with that parent or grew up with that, that's not happening, not on my watch, or
Mm.
kind of that, you know, there was no buffer. It's not happening. I don't care if you want to go to this school, or I don't care if you want to date that boy or whatever. No, it's not happening. And
Mhm.
that I found with my mom, she was supportive, but I had to explain this is what it's like I would have to do some type of uh, if
Backflips,
I was
all
an
of that.
attorney and I
Hmm.
had to write a defense thing and go, okay, this is the reason why and these are the points and this is the and then she would be like, okay, and then she would and then it would click for her later. Our
Yeah.
arguments, slowed down as I got older, and I could just present it and it would be no big deal. But the fear comes in because you think about what has happened, false evidence appearing real, the evidence of what has happened before shows up, and you think about it
Yeah.
and you make the logic, you make the logic of the train connect and go, no, if I did that, if I go to this bar and perform, I could get booed. And then you start to envision, oh, I got booed. None of it's
Mm.
never happened. You haven't made the first step because the false evidence is appearing real in your mind, and then you
Right.
won't do anything. And then as
Mm.
adults, you continue on with that thought process. I'm not going to go out for that job. I'm not going to apply for that supervisory or management role because when I applied
Mm.
before and presented everything, I was denied. Is it because of my race? Is it because I'm a woman? Is it because I don't like that girl that I work with or my supervisor? No, it's you. That's not right
Yeah.
thinking. So
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, can we take that juice and go? And I'm like, hey, Tracy,
But you
that's one of
had
it.
it
That's you.
somewhere. Go back even
Mm-hmm.
further. There was something else somewhere. What I'm saying is that
Mm-hmm.
what you're talking about was somebody else's shit. It was your mom's stuff. It was your mom's belief that you couldn't do this. But you telling me there is nothing that you did anyway that your mother might not have approved of. Nothing ever in life. Nothing ever that you wanted to do.
I moved to New
And
York.
you convinced her. You convinced her when you
Mhm.
decided to go to college. You convinced her that this is what I want to do, right? You didn't
Yeah.
you might not have told her all of the other little details and then the things that came out later on as far as being a DJ, but there still was something there that, like, no, I'm going to school for this right here. This is what I'm doing. So I'm just
Yeah.
saying, think back. And those two childhood traumas, even though we don't necessarily want to call them that, because we love our parents,
Of course.
but there
And
are
we love
things
our
that have
siblings.
affected
Mm-hmm.
us.
Mm-hmm.
There were
And
other things that affected me that, I might not have been able to do, or, other things that happened.
right.
But the whole point is, even if you never had any of that, find my juice, use my story then, and let's find a way to get to that thinking where we can have anything we want. Because right now, when you think back and that's what you're holding on to, you're still holding on to her beliefs. We got to
Mm-hmm.
let her beliefs go.
Mm-hmm.
I have to let my dad's beliefs go.
Mm-hmm.
I even have to let, you know, just beliefs that came up and ideals that came up from being married,
Oh, okay.
thinking that I can't do this and this.
Okay. Making those
So
making
it's
those.
finding a way to and there, that part right there too is acknowledging where that came in, that I wasn't enough, that I couldn't do it,
Mm-hmm.
that this wasn't it. So I mean, I think that I love having this conversation though, because all of it is kind of coming up and out into the surface. And it's something that we need to happen in order to move forward. So yeah, we got to go back and identify those things. Where were you told no? Where was the first time you believed you weren't enough?
And it's gonna show up differently. The thing is, we think it's gonna look the same. Like a lot of time, people would describe me as like Wonder Woman or Superwoman, and I see these people as like and I'm like, I am not that. I am not that. But the moves that people allow themselves to see that I'm making is the equivalent of that person.
Yeah,
And so sometimes again, you do that comparison thinking it's gonna look the same. It doesn't look the same.
it
You've
doesn't.
done something, Belle, that she said no to, because I know I grew up in a family where things were very restricted. And what I would do is
Mm-hmm.
find a proxy, find another adult who can speak on my behalf from those
Yeah.
spaces, because they would listen to another person and not listen to me say the same thing.
Oh, I was
Yes.
that person.
So
I
I
was a
would
lot of
bring
people's
them
Yes.
in
proxy.
and say, this is the reason for this, but also understanding what was that thing. Like even me getting a job, even me doing after school program was this thing about, so I would do after school program I wanted, getting the after school job, as long as I knew like what exactly did she want and what would allow me to do what I want simultaneously. In
Mm-hmm.
doing it,
And
because
that's
you
what
don't have
I'm
to be
saying. You
strategic
found
even
a
then.
way.
But as a little kid, you're probably not thinking like step one, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah, you're
But you
not.
find ways where you like, she won't be home at this time. On this day, I can do this. If I come here, if I tell her there will be chaperones, then most likely I can do that. And those kind of stuff. So you coordinate it, because if I really want to do it, I'm not gonna miss out because of this. And I'd rather get in trouble. Whatever the trouble is, I will get
Right.
in trouble. But
I'll
I'm
take that
getting it
ass
done.
whooping.
Okay.
Right.
Whatever that is, I will do it, and then I'll deal with whatever it is later. Because
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes it's like they will never get it. And it's the same thing now with the people around you, whatever it is you want to do, most will never get it. And it's none of my business. I don't even spend time on that anymore.
Don't
You don't
care.
need
You
to get it.
can't.
I get it. I
Right.
get me. I get what I'm trying to do. So if you stuck
Yeah.
trying to understand why they don't get you, what you're doing, your dream, where you're going, how you're becoming, that's a whole waste of energy.
Oh
But do
my
you
God.
get you?
Listen.
Do you get you? Do you get you why while you're doing what you're doing? Do you get your gift and do you want to use it? Focus that energy on that versus them. Because
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
not gonna do
Them.
the work with you. So I
No.
don't even know, and they're not even doing anything to even propel you forward or to sustain you. And that's what sometimes it's like, focus on the people around you that are who are encouraging you. Focus on the people who are just like, you do
Yeah.
1% and they're like, girl, go. And I'm like, I didn't do anything. What do you mean go? And sometimes we don't think we're doing anything. So that's what you need to channel. Like I have to channel Tracy sometimes. I'm like, I just wrote a page. What are you talking about? This is, channel that, because you channel the people who are saying things that are not true. But if she's
Mm-hmm.
saying like a sentence is good, ooh, that was a good line. Ooh, let me hear that again. Channel that part. Like, why do you downplay that? And then you like literally playing over and over the dumb stuff people say. but you don't
Mm.
tap into what the person is saying. That is you. Like you did that, right? So we uncomfortable when people like see us, see our gift, and we're like, she knows me. That's why she's saying it. Versus the crazy person who doesn't know you and they're saying, and you're like, yeah, I believe that person in the comments. So that's the one I'm gonna believe, right?
Right. I've been telling you this all along. Somebody else come and they say it, and now you believe them.
That's the one. That's the one.
What?
So that, all of that, unfortunately, can contribute to being to self sabotage.
Absolutely.
Listening to that crap and then going, oh, okay. But people were telling me that you have a voice, you have a talent, you have a gift, you should do a podcast. But this was back in 2013. I had many jobs, and I think, yeah, this was probably a year or two after my father had passed away. So I wasn't thinking about a podcast. And for it to come back up again in 2020, I listened. And I literally gathered the people around me that were my cheerleaders that said, no, Val, you can
Mm-hmm.
do this. We'll listen. Even if it's just
Yeah.
me and five other people listening, we'll listen. And I was telling this to a good friend of mine yesterday. She got emotional, but I come to find out it was an important date on the calendar. It was her mother's birthday, but her mother has passed on. And she says, Val, I wanna just get out and get this done. I wanna do this, do this thing. I'm like, well, who's telling you can't do it? Where is that coming from? And it's like, just do this now. Get out and let people hear your voice. You have a talent, get it out there. Don't hold back.
Yeah.
And she's like, I admire your fearlessness. I'm like, yeah, I'm still working through that crap. I'm still working through
Right.
it. Some of it, I'm fearless in some areas, but I ain't fearless
But
everywhere.
you see yours, whatever version, whatever percentage it is, was
Mm-hmm.
enough to give her a boost, was
For
enough to
her.
inspire her to move.
Yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's not
Yes.
even about you. That's why sometimes for me,
Ah,
as uncomfortable, as scared as I am, I do certain things because I know other people are looking toward me. And I think I'm not doing anything. I think I'm doing like 2% or 10%. And they're
Mm-hmm.
seeing 80 or 100 or a whole more. And they're like, if she can like show up and do that, you know what? I think I can do a little and see where that goes. And I think that's what we do collectively, but we do it
mm-hmm.
individually. And that's where
Yeah.
do it scared, do it when things, I mean, I've told Tracy, I've gone on where my camera is sideways. I've gone on when I'm like, oh, your Wi Fi, you decided you're going to go down now? Okay, then I'm going to speak sideways
Right.
because,
And we came on when the equipment was falling apart and screaming behind us, and we still talking like ain't nothing going on up
oh
in
my
here.
God, because the Omi would have been like, this is not good. The light is wrong. Why is it sideways? Let's start again. Let's start again. Let's start again until I get
Right.
it right. I'm like,
Let's
why?
back
That's what's happening now. You're gonna see the crazy while it's happening, and that's life. So I'm gonna
Yeah,
wait
it is.
until
Yeah.
what? It looks good?
Mm.
No, it's not gonna look good all the time. So you're gonna see me when things. There was a time I came on and I was sweating after workout. I was sweating in my eyes. I was just like, this is what you're gonna see. This is what's
That's right.
happening now. And so we wait until things are perfect. And that's the other thing too. Those self-sabotage. He has to be perfect. He has to be right.
Oh,
He has to
yes.
be
Perfect. That's the
all those things need to be lined up. And then at the right time, I gotta schedule it. And then I'm gonna show up. And I'm like, all this time, people are waiting for you. All this time, you could have helped
yeah.
somebody out who's been looking for
Mm-hmm.
you, and then you waiting for the right moment. There is ever gonna be the right time. Ever.
Right.
Ever.
Now is the perfect time. Just it's perfect. Perfect. And I was
Just
having
take
a
a leap.
conversation with somebody, and I said, "Oh, it's my daughter," and she was just talking about being imperfect, and I'm like, "It's okay. You are perfectly imperfect, just the way you are." And so, if we can stand on that, not under it, not hiding behind it, but if we can stand on that, then man, that is more powerful than we can ever even really know. So I love it. I love this conversation. I hope that it was the boost you needed to push past those self-sabotaging tendencies, and we all have it. We all have it. But definitely find your team. Start building that up. So, oh look, Tuesday. Tuesday is book launch day. So we're planting seeds again on Tuesday. We're helping Marie with her book launch. And then on Wednesday, we're talking about right now. And last night we talked about fired up, getting fired up to write your book. But that's what we're talking about right now, getting fired up and what that means, fired up. So there's 7 sip tips to get you fired up about writing your book or about doing the next thing. We got to talk about that on Wednesday next week. So in the meantime, we're heading over to the club. Love you all. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I know we just getting deep in these conversations and we just going over time, but that's all right. We on our way, y'all. Sending you all much love and light. We'll see you back here next time. Bye.